What is going on, everybody? Thank you for watching my video today. The Green Bay Packers, as you've noticed, as if you watch any of my YouTube videos lately, not having a great season, but they're playing one of their biggest non-division rivals, the Dallas Cowboys, this week. In the past, the Packers have beaten the Cowboys a lot, but I don't know if that's going to be the same deal this year. And ahead of this game, I have a very special guest joining me today. That is one Dallas Cowboys fan and Penn State's own, Mr. Will Rosenblatt. Thank you for joining me today, Will. You personally requested to come on and preview this game with me.
Yeah, Joe Toomey, I've been waiting to come on here and chop it up and talk ball with you. And what better time to do it than Packers-Cowboys? Although I am a little disappointed, it's Packers-Cowboys, 425 on Fox. I feel like Joe Buck and Troy Aikman should be doing this. It's going to feel a bit different, but just your classic NFC Fox afternoon game. That music's going to sound great. I'm excited.
Yeah, I definitely agree that Joe Buck and Troy Aikman, they're kind of the voices of Packers Cowboys. We don't get them this time now that they've left Fox. I've seen some Packers fans hating on Greg Olsen because he's called a lot of our games this year. I don't think I'm anti Greg Olsen, but he's certainly not as good. Him and Kevin Burkhardt are certainly not as good as Buck and Aikman. With that aside, Will, a big storyline you've already been talking to me about. This is Mike McCarthy's first game in Lambeau since he left the team after the 2018 season, or midway through the 2018 season, rather, when we fired him after he lost to Josh Rosen and the Arizona Cardinals. Now, I don't hate Mike McCarthy whatsoever. He won a Super Bowl with the Packers, but in my opinion, it was just time to move on. And for a while, it looked like from McCarthy going to Dallas, LaFleur coming to Green Bay, it kind of looked like it worked out for all parties up until this season, where the Packers are definitely struggling. So with that in mind, Will, what's your thoughts coming in this game from a Mike McCarthy standpoint? Because I know that you're a big proponent of him in Dallas.
Well, I don't know if big proponent is the right word, but yeah, like you said, this is the big story of the week. He's one of these guys where when they first hired him, I didn't know how I felt. I'm like, okay, he said he took a year off, did the whole analytics thing. He had a sleepover at Jerry's house, Jerry Jones, everybody's biggest dream. But I started to come around to it because I'm like, okay, things ended poorly in Green Bay, but he's a guy that's won football games, and it's not easy to win football games. He's won a Super Bowl. Consistent winning seasons after that. The only losing season he had in Green Bay was when Aaron Rodgers got hurt, correct?
Yes, and his last season there.
Yeah, and his last season. But to me, it kind of seems like when things went south with the whole injury, they just had a hard time coming back from that. Like, so you're much more familiar with the situation than I am. Why exactly? What happened there? Why did things go south?
In my opinion, what happened was it started in the 2016 year where the offense had to carry us through the entire season, and we made the NFC title game, but the defense was just absolutely horrific, and it cost us against Atlanta in the playoffs. And then we start 4-1, and it was kind of the same story in 2017. Offense was carrying the load once again, and when Rodgers goes down with the broken collarbone, that's when obviously the team just kind of starts to fall apart. And by 2018, it kind of just felt like, we had a new GM. That was Gutekunst's first year, so obviously he didn't pick McCarthy as his coach. That went into it. And, I remember Mike McCarthy was doing things like, giving Jamal Williams more carries than Aaron Jones. He was, kind of like we see in Dallas, the clock management was becoming more and more prevalent of an issue. But to me, the main reason we had to fire him was simply that he was there for so long. From 2005 to 2018, Aaron Rodgers had the same head coach for 13 years. We saw Aaron Rodgers in 2017 and 2018 take a slight step back from where he was in prior seasons. And it just seemed like everyone needed a revitalization. And I think that's the main reason they separated, because the 2018 Packers were bad, but they weren't horrific. We still only went, I think we went 6-10. So not good, but not an absolute disaster. So that's what I would say.
Yeah, well, so we talk about how they were together there for so long. That's always a delicate relationship with your quarterback and head coach. And people love to make fun of Mike McCarthy. They're like, oh, he couldn't win with Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers this, Aaron Rodgers that. To that, I say, okay, winning is hard. Maybe he should have had one more. But Drew Brees only had one.
Right.
Peyton Manning had only had two. And on the second, it's because he had that defense, put Aaron Rodgers on that team and put Mike McCarthy coaching that team. They're winning. Mm-hmm. When it comes to why he had to get out of there, maybe, and I know you've pushed back on this before, Aaron Rodgers might be a little bit more difficult to get along with than a lot of guys in the league. He can be a problem. And so that can lead to some heads knocking, and maybe that's why part of the reason why that got so stale. Did Rodgers get him fired?
I don't think Aaron Rodgers got him fired. I think Mike McCarthy got himself fired, but I don't think that makes him a bad head coach. I think he just isn't an elite head coach necessarily. I don't think he's Bill Belichick at all or anything like that. But, me and you talk a lot about culture, right, Will?
Culture, that's right.
Absolutely. Brian Kelly, top of the culture rankings for you, the LSU fans out there. But Mike McCarthy has a strong culture. I think up until his last season in Green Bay, he did a good job upholding it. And I think would you agree? He's kind of really instilled a good culture in Dallas because, he's coming in for Jason Garrett. And I think he's made Dallas a lot more serious on both ends of the ball since he's been there. I mean, the only year they've really struggled throughout the year was when Dak broke his leg. So I think Mike McCarthy's good. When we bring in Matt LaFleur, I think the difference is Mike McCarthy, I think, is better at setting the culture and motivating guys. We remember the watermelon smashing incident in Dallas.
Oh yeah.
I think Matt LaFleur is a smarter, more analytical coach. He's also a bit younger, so he's able to connect with the players, I think, a bit more. I think him and Rodgers are pretty close, at least before this year, I would say they were. I don't know what's going on right now. I think the difference with Matt LaFleur is that he can get almost too friendly with these players, and maybe that's the difference because I think a lot of Mike McCarthy's playoff failures, not his last season because we didn't make the playoffs that year, but his playoff failures, I think a lot of them can be traced back to defense, especially in the second half of his career in Green Bay, where Matt LaFleur, I think some of his issues is motivating the guys and not maybe setting an elite culture. So what would you say about how Mike McCarthy has, kind of what he's brought to the table in his 3 years in Dallas?
Yeah, I just want to address, you called the watermelon thing an incident.
That's a bad way of saying
that's an incident. Crushing watermelons led to a win that day. But that's one of the things I was going to say, because at this point, Mike McCarthy, he's not on the cutting edge of offensive innovation. And that's not an insult, because there's only 2 or 3 guys that are like that. Okay. What is more important, I think, is just getting your team to show up and execute. And I think, obviously he's had the help of Dan Quinn. That first defensive coordinator hire in Dallas, Mike Nolan, did not go well. People forget that 2020, that defense was historically bad. And now to come and turn it around and to be maybe over the last, since the start of 2021, maybe the best defense in the sport. They lost Randy Gregory, and maybe they have only gotten better. Obviously, DeMarcus Lawrence has been healthy, and Micah Parsons has another year under his belt. But I expect that when a Mike McCarthy team takes the field, they're going to show up and they're going to play. Now, there was the playoff loss to San Francisco. I think that was a case of where it was a bad matchup, and they did get outcoached in the X's and O's department. And also last year when Dak came back, Dak, he didn't miss an extended period of time, but he had a little bit of an ankle issue last year, and they just never seemed like they could get back in rhythm. Dak Prescott's now back this year, and since his return, he leads the NFL in EPA and success rate. So if they don't hit that blip, I think McCarthy has a real contender.
Yeah, I would agree. I think Dallas, now for the Eagles fans listening, I think that on the one hand, I think a lot of Eagles fans are dismissing the Cowboys, where I think it is closer than people would admit. I would also say I think the Eagles are better than Dallas. I think they would beat them when push comes to shove. But I think the Cowboys are probably the second best team in the NFC. Niners can, they're sneaking in there, but they've got to perfect it with McCaffrey, the likes of those guys, get the defense healthy. So as it stands right now, I think the NFC East has the 2 best teams in the NFC. And to your point about the defense, I mean, look at the way so many people have improved. You take a guy like Malik Hooker, who was the first-round bust, dealt with injuries in Indianapolis. He comes into Dan Quinn's system. He's playing he's just playing really good at the safety position this year. You have Trayvon Diggs, who was already pretty good. He was a great turnover forcer last year. But a lot of people, it's noticeable how much.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Much more complete this year. I was going to say he's playing a lot better this year, I think.
Yeah, he has. I also think there were points last year where people made the stats didn't tell the full story. The Cowboys were up in a lot of games last year. They would play soft coverage. And yes, he gave up more yards than he probably should have. I'm not saying he didn't, but I don't think the stats people said, oh, he led the league in yards allowed. I think it was more complicated than that. The safety play for years in Dallas was an issue under Dan Quinn. That's drastically improved.
Mm-hmm.
I think this Cowboys defense on Sunday is just chomping at the bit to get after this Packers offense. They are going to, obviously it's on the road. Aaron Rodgers could be Aaron Rodgers, but Dan Quinn's got to be licking his chops.
Yeah, so I guess we can get to the actual game here now. I mean, there's not even a point of doing a game pick kind of segment here. The Cowboys are going to win this game. They're just going to win the game because the Packers, not only are they very injured right now, no Randall Cobb, no Romeo Doubs, who's like my favorite player on the team right now. What a great story as a rookie, but now he's hurt. We lose our top pass rusher, Rashawn Gary. So the Cowboys have a good O-line. We're missing our best guy to go against that. Eric Stokes at corner, he wasn't having a good year, but he's out. So across the board, the Cowboys are going to have a lot of advantages in this game. And I think, to your point, that defense, the Cowboys could definitely give this Packers offense a lot of trouble. Aaron Rodgers has been getting sacked more than I've ever seen in a long time, maybe ever. And I don't think against the Dallas defense is where that's going to change.
Yeah, I think this is just one of those games where the Cowboys probably have the advantage in the trenches on both sides. And what is football about? It's about what happens down in the trenches, down with the big boys. MNMFs, which are probably some words I can't say on this show, but you got to be mean and nasty down there. And I think the Cowboys have that. And that's also why they're going to be able to stay in the game against anybody in this league at this point, because they can get down in there on offense, defense, hit you in the mouth, mug it up, and just play big boy football.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And running the ball, they've also been really good. I know Dak has been lighting up as a passer since he's gotten back, but no Zeke probably again this week, but Tony Pollard's been killing it.
Listen, I'm not complaining. The Packers, they don't stop the run that well, do they?
Yeah, that's a great point. This defense was supposed to have made drastic improvements on run defense. They already improved last year to not terrible, which was huge for the Packers to not be terrible, just to be average. This year, we're supposed to be a good run defense, and we've reverted to the form from 2 to 3 years ago. Absolutely horrid. I am scared for what Tony Pollard's going to do against the Packers this week, which is why I'm starting him in fantasy this week.
Yeah, he's going to be – listen, like I said, it's the NFL. Anything can happen. Like, you seem pretty confident the Cowboys are win. You're probably more confident than I am. I've seen too many times – where we've played the Packers, we've played Aaron Rodgers, we've gone to Lambeau. You never know. Maybe the refs are going to give the Packers another one there. They already did that one time when Des Bryant caught the ball.
Oh, no. Come on.
You're right. That's aside the point. But, it's the Aaron Rodgers era in Green Bay. This is one of their last chances. A good Cowboys team coming. They've lost 5 in a row, Joe Tuman, 5 in a row.
The Packers are about to be on an 8-game losing streak because we're going to lose to you, lose to the Titans, and lose to the Eagles. But to your point, anything can happen. But I don't know. This team is just frustrating me to no end. I don't have a lot of confidence right now.
Well, before we get out of here, just one circling back to the Aaron Rodgers, Mike McCarthy thing. I talked about with this you some last night. If Aaron Rodgers is losing it on the field, he has a way with words. Can we just read some of the quotes about him just pontificating?
People get mad about Aaron Rodgers in the media. He does not. He's just honest. That's all he is. He doesn't.
Well, I think he's gotten more honest lately. I think he's reached his I don't give a what point.
Yeah.
point of his career.
Yeah, definitely. Go ahead. Read the quotes.
Here he is. This on his relationship with Mike McCarthy.
Yeah.
I think time always can be a great healer. Not that there needed to be a lot of healing in our relationship. There was always so much love. The things I always appreciated about Mike was I could come to him with an issue, or he could call me up to the office with an issue, and we could have really, really direct conversations. But always at the end of it, every single time, there was always a hug. And I love you, and I appreciate you. Thanks for the conversation. And it taught me a lot about conflict management and dealing with Mike. And not to say we had conflict all the time, but I always appreciated the way we were able to talk to each other because it was direct and it always ended on a high note. See,
that's beautiful. That's just beautiful stuff right there. Is it true? I have a feeling that it might have been more true earlier in Aaron Rodgers and Mike McCarthy's pairing. I don't know about 2018. I think there might have been less hugs that year, which is what led to the divorce, but that's what I would say. I like Mike McCarthy. Let me put it this way. I think Mike McCarthy, as I said before, we talked about the culture. He's a likable guy, like in terms of post-game media, stuff like that. But I just don't think he's always, the brightest when it comes to in-game decisions. But that doesn't mean he's a bad coach either, because he's proven that he knows how to rally the troops, as we talked about.
Aaron Rodgers, he did say they've been talking a lot lately. He said they've begun to talk more as time has passed.
Okay, that's good. That's good. Maybe Mike's coming. Maybe Rodgers going to Dallas next year.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think that's an important thing that everybody should learn. That sometimes, you're working together, you have really good relationships, and potentially they go south. But Mike McCarthy ended up on his feet. Aaron Rodgers and ended up on his feet, and we're gonna see who's got more feet at the end of this weekend.
You can see who has more feet. Interesting. I have a feeling it'll be it'll be Mike McCarthy after.
Yeah,
Mike is gonna come knock Aaron off his feet this week.
Mike McCarthy can crush a watermelon in midfield and Lambeau celebrate. He almost teared up at the press conference. So
he did. Listen, Mike McCarthy deserves. He better be cheered. That's all I'll say. It's been 4 years since he got fired. He won a Super Bowl. He had a lot of great seasons, a lot of good moments. I would be really disappointed if he isn't cheered by the Lambeau crowd this week. I know Packers fans are a little sour right now with how the season's going, but don't take it out on a guy who brought us a Super Bowl. What are we mad at Matt LaFleur at right now? And I like Matt LaFleur because I think he did a lot to reinvigorate Rodgers' career, but that's another discussion. But what are we mad about Matt LaFleur right now? Not setting the culture and not winning the Super Bowl. Mike McCarthy took a 6 seed and won the Super Bowl, and he deserves credit for that. So I hope he gets cheered.
It's his birthday today too, so we can wish him a happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Mike McCarthy.
Happy birthday, Mike McCarthy.
Absolutely. All right, I think we can wrap it up there. Will Rosenblatt, before we go, just give me a score prediction for Cowboys Packers.
Let's go Cowboys 27-23.
Wow. Okay. I'm gonna go Cowboys. I'll go Cowboys 24, Packers 13. That's what I'm gonna say.
Listen, I'll take that. November is a great month of football. Both my teams are 6-2, led by Irishmen coaching football, and it's great for the culture. Great for the culture.
The culture vibes are off the charts right now in Dallas and in Baton Rouge. Will Rosenblatt, thank you so much for joining me today.
Anytime, Joe Tuman.
Thank you. Thank you guys for listening. I'm excited to see if the Packers can continue to own the Dallas Cowboys, but I have a feeling that is about to end. Thank you guys for watching. Have a great rest of your day.